Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series, and we continue through 1983, specifically June 16th, 1983. We are partway through June, obviously, and we are headed towards Reunion Arena in a couple of weeks with some rather big matches upcoming. There's a few debuts this week, a couple that I don't understand. A music video that has been dubbed over on the network that makes me sad, and some other things, but relatively, I guess, uneventful show here this week. Um, Although some good stuff. World Class definitely worth the watch. If you're not watching along, please do. We have everything from 82 up through this point in 83, so a lot of audio content if you're down with that sort of thing. We open with a tag match, Iceman King Parsons and Johnny Mantell versus Buddy Roberts and the Mongols. So an alliance temporarily between the Akbar and Freebirds coalitions. That does not last long, but it is here. Mongol has an interesting outlay. The outlay being he's successful part of the time and then disappears the other part of the time. The story of this match is obviously the continuation of the war between Buddy Roberts and Iceman King Parsons. Parsons, probably his most, storied part of his career is here. They go heads up very early in the match and strong strikes. I think Parsons is one of those guys that I did not realize how over he was at the time. The Mongol has a little bit of more power, and so when he throws shots, it means more. Johnny Mantell, they seem to be going back and forth on how much they want to push him. Much more a mat wrestler than anything else. But he is made to look good here. But obviously, we're heading to the hair versus hair match at Reunion Arena in a couple of weeks between Buddy Roberts and Parsons. Reunion Arena, big deal. Obviously, they do a couple of those every year. The Star Wars concept, which considering this is 1982-83 time frame, is kind of a predecessor in some ways to WrestleMania, and I think really smart. Real back and forth match, the majority of which you see Parsons on top when he's in the ring, Mongol on top when he's in the ring. Mongol actually does get the victory with the power slam. So we move over there. Mike Reed versus Kamala goes about how you'd expect it to go. Kamala takes care of him in a few short minutes. Kamala has been very well protected. We have not really seen Kamala challenged all that much in his several-month run here in World Class. He actually ends up going into at Reunion Arena for the big show of the summer. He goes into a three-man match. They start to plug that here, or three-on-one occasion, elimination style. Real basic match with Kamala chops and kicks and chokes and punches and such. Several splashes. Kimchi still at ringside, and obviously a win for Kamala. We move into Ron Starr debuting against Mr. Ebony, also debuting. I don't quite get the hype on Mr. Ebony, but Skandar Akbar, his manager, certainly does, and Ebony does take the victory here. They really put him over in the interview post-match as a big deal. Almost has like the masked superstar kind of mask with the oxygen mask looking O shape breathing hole, and he's strong, African American fellow, and it's interesting because they always seem to have a couple of higher profile African Americans in Texas. Not that race matters, but it does here in the sense that in the 80s, obviously, racial segregation still a thing in pro wrestling at that time. Continuation here, and again, really basic slow match, power used by Mr. Ebony, and he's hitting, forearms and punches and chokes and kicks, but not an offense that would be anything to write home about. He does end up winning the match. Obviously, they're not gonna have him lose a squash match in his debut or anything like that. But he is, you know, even toward the end of the match, he's using just punches, and then finally wins with a full Nelson. Does the swinging full Nelson a la Ken Patera. And then we go into a dubbed over music video of Kerry Von Erich with Eye of the Tiger from the Rocky movies. Survivor song, popular at the time. Kerry Von Erich riding a horse is somehow supposed to make us buy tickets. Not quite sure I understand that, although I wasn't born in Texas and do not understand quite how much or how important horses are to Texas. We go into the main event of the week, and that is Terry Gordy versus Kerry Von Erich for the Brass Knuckles Championship. Brass Knuckles Championship seems to be something that they ignore for several months at a time and bring back intermittently when they need an extra belt. It does strike me how many titles there are in Texas. Kerry goes right to work on Gordy. Kerry actually made to look a little more powerful than normal in this match. Gordy does hit with some heavy shots, but Kerry gives it right back. Kerry breaks down the leg and goes to work on the leg of Gordy, and we see that unfold for several minutes. Kerry is aggressive. We are knowing that he will be going into a tag team championship match with Bruiser Brody as his partner in Reunion Arena in a couple of weeks, and obviously Brody coming back is a big deal. It's been about 3.5 years or so since he's been in Texas, and he primarily started in Texas, so a bit of a homecoming for Brody and a homecoming as a babyface, so kind of a big deal. Obviously, Brody, really big in Japan, probably bigger in Japan than many of the Gaijin or Americanized talent at the time. Kerry almost gets himself disqualified a couple times in this matchup, even though it's Brass Knuckles title. Well, I don't know that disqualified is the right term, but the referee does seem to get quite upset quite easily and quite frequently at the brawling tactics of Kerry, which doesn't really make sense in the context of the match, but anyway, referees are referees. Drop kick by Kerry late, and you'd basically see Kerry go completely nuts with his shots. We then do see Michael Hayes interfere to save the belt for Gordy, and he wins the championship again, or he retains the championship again. The Freebirds are still dominant here. It goes without saying. And we close with a promo where basically what you get is the Freebirds putting themselves over as being the tag team champions, being the Brass Knucks champion, being able to be. They could be the American champion if they wanted to be. They could be the Texas champion if they wanted to be. And the Freebirds always looking strong as we close the June 16th edition of World Class here in the WCCW Ville. So we'll be back with more action right after this.